What is the most creepy Matrix glitch or inexplicable thing that has happened to you? I live in a very remote neighborhood, so I know for a fact that we are the only residents here. I was taking out the trash one night. As I approached the road, I distinctly heard a woman's voice, "Help me!" Even knowing that it was highly unlikely that there was a single living person in the neighborhood, I still felt I needed to look around and check, in case someone really needed help and it wasn't my glitches. I took about 2 steps in the direction I thought I heard the voice coming from, and then I heard a giggle. It was the same voice. I immediately turned around and quickly walked away. Because fuck it, anyone who really needed help wouldn't giggle. When I was a kid, my sister and I were walking home from the park and we heard a man yell, "Help!" We found an open manhole from which we thought the man was calling for help, but we didn't see him. I was 9 years old, and in a panic, I thought we should get in there and help him. My sister, she was 11 years old, rightly figured out that we should call our parents. When we got back with our parents, the man was gone. Now, as an adult, I realized that it was probably just a stupid joke, but still, it was quite creepy. One day, I was walking my dog, and we were almost to the driveway, when suddenly I looked down for some reason, looked back up, and ended up being about 6 blocks from where I thought I was. I got really confused, looked at my dog, but she was fine, looked normal. If anything, I don't drink or do drugs, and I'm still pretty young. 1985. My ex-wife and I are sleeping in a bed. A street lamp sheds a thin strip of light through our window, so you can barely see the bed and the whole room. Our black Pomeranian Spitz is sleeping on the edge of the bed. I dreamed that I woke up, reached out to pet him, and he turned black, slimy oyster monster. He opens his mouth full of several rows of gleaming glass teeth. I woke up to my ex rolling the mattress up against the wall. I asked her, "What happened?" And she replied, "What was that shiny black thing with its teeth on the edge of the bed? Or the dog?" We had the same nightmare at the same time. I still get goosebumps from that shit. I was digging into my motorcycle, in the dirt right where I fell off it, trying to drift like a pro. I ended up breaking the clutch and the shift lever. I brought a set of country wrenches and used one of the wrenches to unscrew the bolt. I twisted it lightly and put the wrench on the ground to unscrew the bolt all the way with my hands. 2 minutes later, I wanted to pick up the wrench and it was gone. I looked absolutely everywhere in all that dirt, but it was all in vain. Luckily, I had a spare key in the car. Subduing the bike, I went home to take a shower and wash off the dirt. I went into my room and saw a wrench on the table. I just freaked out. A 10 wrench. This kind of crap happens all the time with it. I was going about 80 km/h and saw some car run the stop sign at the exit and pop out right in front of me. I remember already preparing for the collision. And then, I'm about 500 meters down the highway, and in my rearview mirror, I see that very car. As someone who has watched all parts of the Final Destination, I can say with certainty that you will die. You died in that moment, and your mind lives in an alternate reality. I remember driving my car, stopping at an intersection in the countryside and looking around, trying to see if anyone is around. Out of the corner of my eye, I see my mother. She says something like, "This side is clear." I turn back and she's not there. At that point, it had been a few years since my mother died. That was during the day. Nothing like that has happened since. I've told this story before. I can spell it out in detail. But here's the short version. I'm 100% sure I remember a dog that didn't seem to exist. When I was 16 years old, we lived across the province and my uncle had a little Jack Russell Terrier named Crew. Crew went missing for a few months and then was found by some people about an hour away from us, and we were all shocked that this little dog had run so far away. Anyway, that was almost 20 years ago. I recently mentioned this dog in a conversation with my parents. Whenever I hear about Jackie Russell, I think of Crew and that prank of his. And they didn't know what I meant. They had no idea what dog I was talking about. Insisted that my uncle had never had a dog like that I must have dreamt it, and so on. Honestly, everyone who would remember this dog is long dead, and I don't even have a picture of my uncle. I don't have a single way to prove this dog existed, but I'm sure it did. Perhaps they just forgot. My parents are like that too. Not long ago, I was telling them about a letter I wrote to my father when he was away a few years ago. They both insisted I had dreamt it, but I ended up finding it. Sometimes people may not remember things. That doesn't mean it didn't actually exist. One day at 6 p.m., which was my usual time, I got off work and began my journey home on the train, which was an hour long. After getting on it, I immediately passed out and woke up right in front of my station. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes for the bus to get from the station to my home. I didn't pick up my phone during the entire trip, and I didn't have a watch on me, so I didn't stumble into the time anywhere. When I got home, the family was very surprised. "You're so early, is everything okay?" I looked at the wall clock, and there it was, just the hand coming up to 6. I was shocked. I didn't understand how did this happen. I checked the other clocks, cell phones, and so on. The time was absolutely accurate. A few days later, the Human Resources Department emailed us the timesheet for the month, time in and out of work, and it showed that I was leaving at about 6 p.m. each day. Anyway, it was definitely not me, but someone else who left work that early. To this day, I still can't figure out where those extra 60 to 90 minutes that day came from. Modified. The most common theory in the comments is daylight saving time. I've considered that option before, except the problem is that this conversion has to work for coming to work as well. And, as I recall, I got to work as usual. I didn't leave the house too early, and unless I'm mistaken, it wasn't Monday, when work time doesn't change, despite the Sunday time change. Meanwhile, the other guy is trying to figure out where he lost his 60 to 90 minutes. Today is the 1-year anniversary of my wife's death. Some strange things have happened to me. For example, a couple of meaningful old photographs that had been lying in the closet were discovered by me, I swear. But the strangest thing was that I was vacuuming the rug, and as soon as I was done, I saw a diamond ring on the floor right where I had just cleaned. Like she was letting me know, "It's an important thing, don't lose it." It's really touching. I'm sorry your wife died. I hope all these things you find bring you back to fond memories. My friend Sarah was in a nightclub drunk as a skunk. At one point, she had the overwhelming urge to tell a complete stranger that her leg was hurting. Didn't really hurt. It was a very strange feeling. She tried to ignore it, but the urge wouldn't subside. So she walked up to some guy and said, "I know it's weird, but I have this strong urge to tell you that my leg hurts. Yeah, I know it's wild, I'm sorry." And then this guy starts crying. It turns out that his father had just recently died, and before he died, he and his son had agreed that if the afterlife exists, he would get a message. He would be told a random phrase so that he would know for sure such a phrase was, "My leg hurts." I was about 12 years old. I woke up in the middle of the night to take a leak. I walked across the hall to the small bathroom, turned on the light, and was about to go to the toilet. Suddenly I looked up and saw my face in the mirror. It wasn't my face. It was as if someone on the other side was standing to the right, looking at me through the mirror. I saw the face only for a brief moment, but I remembered it for a long time. I shrieked and ran out of the bathroom to find my father. Of course, my father went and checked something and then calmed me down, but at least he tried. In the end, we prayed together because I was really scared. Somehow I fell back asleep. Fast forward to the time when I'm in my 30s. I'd already forgotten all about that incident. One night when I was visiting my father, he delicately brought it up again. "Do you remember the face you saw once in the mirror?" It suddenly came back to me in a rush of memories and shivers ran down my spine. "Yes, I remember." "Well," he said, "sometimes I remember that night." He looked pensively at the floor. "I saw it too." He described exactly what I saw. We have no idea what it was. As it turned out, when he went to check it out, he saw the same thing I did and got wildly frightened. The prayer we recited was as important to him as it was to me. I'm grateful that he kept it a secret until my 30s. But I wish he had never told me about it. Oh, you. That story sent shivers down my spine too. And imagine going back to that house and hammering the mirror. Instead of the wall behind the mirror turns out to be a small room from which someone was looking at you. I had one very important document that I kept in only one place, in the top drawer of a small card cabinet. I never took it out of there. Whenever I opened that drawer for any reason, I saw it lying there. The day came when I needed it, and I didn't even think to worry, because I knew exactly where it was. I'll be damned, it wasn't there. I had a panic attack. I turned the whole closet over. I pulled everything out and spread it out on the floor. I turned all the papers over and over. I shook all the envelopes. I shined a flashlight all over the empty closet in case it was somehow stuck in the sidewalls. It wasn't there. I assure you, no one took it or tried to mess with me in this way. I was completely shattered. I even looked around other places in the house. But I was sure it wouldn't be in any of those places, and it wasn't there. In between searches, I went back to the stupid closet. Nothing. On hard nerves, I looked the rest of the house down again and went down the stairs to where my card closet was. I screamed in utter frustration, "Good! Just give it back!" I don't know who I turned to because I was home alone, but as you can guess, I found it in the top drawer of the closet where it was supposed to be. Initially, I was relieved, of course, but also pretty fucked up. This incident never gave me a moment's peace. I was 13 at the time, and my father worked as a coal miner. He worked the third shift, which was from midnight to noon. It was also called the night drill shift. So he would come home around 2 p.m. and sleep until about 9 p.m., gets up to have a dinner with us, and go to work. My father was always pretty tough and was always yelling at us if my younger brother and I made too much noise and woke him up when he was asleep after work, which as an adult I totally understand now. Anyway, one day I somehow woke him up again. He called me into the bedroom and I was expecting him to start scolding me, but he just looked at me and said, "It's okay, come give me a hug." What 13-year-old kid wants to hug his father? I started grudgingly crumple, to which he said, "What if something happens to me?" Exhausted and tired, he put his head down on the pillow. I never hugged him. There was an accident in the mine that night. He saved everyone on his crew, including one worker who had to go back for him. He was the only one who died in the mine, and I'm sure he knew it was going to happen. I'll never forget the way he looked at me then. If anyone asks you for a hug, just hug him. I love you, Daddy. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments, you can write what's the most creepy Matrix glitch or inexplicable crap happened to you, and don't forget to check out our other episodes. That's it. Bye-bye.